Fit, what's going
Mhm.
on, man?
Everything all at once.
Yep, I love it. You
Hmm.
guys, this is a session podcast. We're here to combine what Fit does and what I do in order to be able to help you guys with your relationships. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, creator of the Shine Campus, helping marriages from the inside out. And this is my partner, Fit. You want to introduce yourself?
My name is Michael. I'm an infidelity recovery specialist, creator of the 9 stages of infidelity, and I am very happy, joyful, and grateful to be here with you in this very moment.
Yep, let's get them. Hey, so you guys, today we're going to be talking about the power of vulnerability and daily habits of connection, but we're just going to let it flow. I think in our last session, we were able, it was a different day, but we were able to get in here and answer a lot of questions. We're going to be doing that even at the end of the month with our monthly meetup, where we are a little bit closer to you, being able to handle specifically what you're going through. We do have an agenda and we're on track to being able to really help relationships. You can review in our session podcast and be able to see like some of the things that we've already helped couples with. And we're just going to continue working on loving everybody. Okay. So, Fit, today we're going to be talking about how do we get a little bit more vulnerability. Vulnerability is one of those things that really helps to build connection, and if we're not vulnerable, if we can't get to that place in our relationship, and there's a lot of different reasons it doesn't happen, but if we can't get to that place, then we can't get to that closer feeling that will help us sustain our relationships. And so vulnerability is a really big deal. Um, I think that the more vulnerable we get, the deeper our intimacy can get. And so it's always a struggle: is are we willing to be vulnerable with each other as much as possible? All right.
Yep.
Uh, so much of it is like us being able to break patterns and do the things that we need to do. But um, yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out, and we need to help everybody out today. In your
Yeah, I mean,
practice,
being
Fit, yeah,
vulnerable.
go for it.
Hmm. I mean, it's just being vulnerable. It's just so scary, and we don't even identify it as fear sometimes. We just want to do it. We don't want to talk about it. I don't know. It's all right. Right? We just want to avoid it, but we don't know. That deep down inside we may be fearing something.
Hmm.
And usually, when we go towards what we've been avoiding, there's something there for us. There's some gold there for us. Some to may make us feel uncomfortable to address. Yes, but if we address it, then we can heal it instead of constantly having to deal with it in cycles and patterns.
Yeah, yeah, it's the fear inspired, and this has been a theme of our conversations. No matter what we're talking about, it's the fear inspired interaction that leaves us in bad situations or in scenarios that we don't really want to be a part of. So we can't be afraid of what it's like to be vulnerable. And I know that's easier said than done, but it's super important. Vulnerability breeds intimacy, and if we stay on track with that, it's going to be a really good deal for us overall. Okay, there's a listener that put a question in that we want to be able to cover, which is, I want to feel closer to my partner, but when I try to open up, it feels awkward and unsafe. How do we actually build intimacy? What would you tell to that person?
Is there something, a feeling there before that all happens,
Mhm.
because your emotional body is telling you something right then and there? And so what's the thought behind it every single time that happens? Because that thought may be arising something in your subconscious or in your emotional body before that even conversation even takes place. And so already that fear or that energy is already there, though you're going in with the best intentions, but your frequency, your energy says otherwise. And so uh, go in there when that happens. Like, when I say in there, I mean in your mind, in your heart, in your body, and really identify what is it that I'm feeling right now before I'm about to have that conversation, and
Yeah.
why. What is the thing? Think it out loud, hear what it is out loud, and dissolve that scenario and recreate that perspective and that energy for yourself in that moment, and determine a new decree, a new outcome, uh, in that situation and practice it. And I know that may seem, a bit confusing right now, but just again, remember, in each and every moment, your body is indicating to you something, and you're feeling something, and you are thinking something and projecting something. And so each and every moment it is shifting, because that is a lie that you've been taught over time. And so what you must do is shift and tell yourself the sacred, truth, your sacred truth that you find for you, that's best for you, to shift that reality and begin creating a new pattern, a new energy, and developing a new relationship over time.
Yeah, it's going to be super helpful to them. I like a picture of like a plant, and especially if we talk about like a plant that we're just planting,
Hmm.
creating the right environment and feeding and watering and providing the right kind of energy to that scenario is what actually helps the intimacy to grow. So if you think of the intimacy as the actual plant that you're trying to create, it is a matter of being able to create the right environment. And so specifically what you need to be able to pour in is some vulnerability, but we can't pour in vulnerability into a space that's not safe. And so a lot of times couples, you're trying to do the things, people, you're trying to do the things, but you're not in a safe environment. Why aren't we in a safe environment? A lot of times we're not in a safe environment because one is I'm afraid. And so if I'm afraid, I'm going to create a not safe environment. It's going to be, like you mentioned, Fit, it's going to
Hmm.
be anxious. It's going to be one that constantly keeps the forearms up, right? Or constantly is willing to do the fights, but nothing about wrapping our arms around each other. And so the challenge is to really kind of create a scenario that's conducive to growing that intimacy. And it means that we have to get to a vulnerable place. The only way to get to a vulnerable place is to have an environment that looks like that. To answer our listeners' question, how do we actually build intimacy? It's first creating an environment that's safe and that could allow that. And I love this as a concept for all of us as couples is we can't have a fragile environment. It's going to be challenging to do relationship. And if you have a fragile environment, or if you're going to interact in a fragile way, with, if a hardship happens, we topple over, or somebody says something that's not the right way that I needed to hear it, then I topple over. The more fragile we are, the harder it's going to be to maintain the environment that's safe. It's not comfortable or fun to be in a china shop. Why? Because you got to constantly watch your back. Am I breaking this? Is this going to happen? And so you're not vulnerable. You're not going to be out and be free in that china shop. So don't be a china
Hmm.
shop, right? Instead,
Right,
be
right.
a place, be a person, be an energized individual that can actually accept and allow somebody to be free in that scenario. And that is difficult. I
Mm.
know it's difficult because it means that like somebody's going to say something that we don't like. It means that we might get in an argument, or it means that we might have hardship. And I know, and we were talking about something before the show, Fit, where I was saying like the hardship is what we need to build us. And so we have
Yeah.
to have a different perspective on what the challenges would look like. And that will allow us to reshape how we're doing our environment. And so that we're not so fragile in these environments as much as possible. Any follow ups
Yeah.
to help our listener?
I mean, uh, intimacy. You want to think about that, and what we're talking about in vulnerability, and uh, is a feeling. And we'll get to that, a little bit later, in physical intimacy versus emotional intimacy. But again, it is allowing and really exercising that feeling that you feel within, and letting it out, and putting it out
Right.
there. And if you yourself are feeling fragile, then be gentle with it. Be gentle with your expression and how you do so with yourself and with everyone. And then in those environments, yes, it goes back to that very simple, idea of practicing safety, practicing
Mhm.
presence in that moment, and knowing
Yeah.
that you are safe.
Yeah.
And when you are practicing expressing that you are feeling unsafe, rather than holding it in, that's what builds the intimacy rather than the other.
Yeah. So if we're going to help you guys, it's really about, and still probably answering that question at the same time, like moving on to helping you guys break these patterns that exist in our relationship. Um, One of the things that we have to establish is that vulnerability is actually a strength and not a weakness. And no matter what the environment is that you're in, the more that you start being able to say, look, me being vulnerable is what builds me, which ultimately builds my relationship. That's the key. And so, no matter how your partner responds to the interaction that you're doing, if your long term thought is, look, I want to be in a relationship that has closeness and connection, I want to be in a relationship where our intimacy is high. If that's the case, if you're pursuing that, then you have to keep putting your hand out there. One of my favorite scenes that I've seen as far as like little clips or videos is these two kids are fighting, and a adult walks in and he's like, hey, you guys got to break that up. I know both of your parents. And he tells the guys, put your hand out there and shake each other's hand, right? And one of the dudes, he's willing to do it. So he puts his hand out there, and the other guy, everybody kind of laughs at him. He's like, I'm not shaking his hand. And so he kind of feels like, well, I was just vulnerable and you didn't accept it, and so he doesn't want to do it again. But then the adult says, put your hand out there again. He's going to shake it. And, there's a crowd around, so it makes it a little bit more difficult probably for both of them. But he puts his hand out there again, and the guy shakes his hand, and so, but it took that fear of being to go through that fear of being vulnerable in that moment a second time, because he did it the first time, but then a second time, that it really takes. And so I'll tell us as couples too, like, put your hand out there again, right? Like, go ahead and put your hand out there. They're going to take it, and so we got to really think of it as a strength. Like, this is me building me. It's less about how they respond and more about me doing the thing that I need to do to actually grow this relationship into something that we need to grow into. What's your take on vulnerability as a strength, Fit?
It's kind of like going to like the gym, when you're lifting heavier weights, it may be painful, but in the end you get the growth.
Yeah.
And it's just that mindset shift that when I am vulnerable, I am strong.
Yeah.
When I speak my truth, I am in my best. And when I right, and it may not even be vulnerable. I'm not even looking at it as I'm being vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I'm finally just being me. Hey, I'm finally letting out everything that I have trapped inside, and I'm letting it out authentically now.
Right.
And what once was, I'm just, and it may require power, require power in that hour. Not something as gentle as a flower, right? Using your will to pass the bill. And so what I mean by that is in those moments, recognizing what's going on, and yeah, using your awareness and your strength, your courage, to push through those, to finally go, no, you know what? I'm doing different now to get a different outcome because I really truly desire it that much. And when we really truly desire it that much, we have the awareness and we practice those new choices in those moments to become that person. I mean, well, hey, it's all there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's practices that we can do on a daily basis, you guys, that will really help with this. And when you try to do practices that increase vulnerability, you don't need to be perfect with it. You just have to focus on doing them every day and aiming at one of them, right? And so if you keep 5, in your journal or in your to-do list, every day you can kind of pick up something that says, okay, I'm gonna try this one today. Or even in communication with your partner, you could figure out, what's one of my one that my wife has us on is like just being able to ask each other what our day was like. Like that was an important thing for her, and I think that it's a useful thing because it's such a small question that can happen that really is an easy practice to do, but it means a whole lot. So just being able to ask, like, how are you really today, instead of how was your day, right? But really getting into it and being more vulnerable, like, no, how are you really, instead of that in passing with a stranger question, you get curious. We talked about getting curious a few weeks back. You get a little bit more curious about what's going on with them, so that you kind of breed vulnerability into your relationship. Fit, I'm going to ask you one in a second, but I'm going to give one more before I come to you with that. I think that us being able to just be able to appreciate each other each day. We talk about creating the environment that's conducive to growing vulnerability and enhancing that ultimate intimacy. In order to create that environment, us just making a safe question and and or suggestion that like, hey, I appreciate you today. I'm grateful for the things that you are in my life, and I don't take it for granted. Is that right there creates an environment. If somebody's saying that to you, you feel good to go to that person and have a real conversation with that person, right? When somebody's not saying, you're like, I don't really want to mess anything up, right? But if somebody's
Right.
telling you, look, I really appreciate who you are in my life, that says, okay, well, you could probably come to me with some other things because I have gratitude towards you, not hesitation towards you. And so it's really important for us to be able to tap into these things on a daily basis so that we're really building what it is that we want. Do you have one
And the
fit
other
that would
person
help
too,
anybody? Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I mean, and the other person has to be in the, the mindset of receiving it too,
Hmm.
and allowing it. Um, but other so here's one thing that I would suggest to really increase the intimacy in going first, in being
Hmm.
vulnerable first. Don't
Hmm.
wait for your partner to be vulnerable first. You
I love it.
practice it. And
I love
so
it.
and so I'm instructing you to be vulnerable, to go first. Okay, well then I'll do it. I'll follow my own advice.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
for me, like I had issues of rejection, and not being enough, and thinking that I wasn't attractive enough. There was nothing special about me. Why would anyone want me? All of these things. And so when things would start to happen and I wanted to practice vulnerability, I would start to say things like, hey, when that happened earlier and I just kind of got quiet for a while, I was actually like upset. And the reason why is because I felt stupid. I'm like,
Hmm.
really? Like what? Yeah, and it's like, and you're processing it in the moment too. You're like,
Yeah.
and I felt stupid because when you did that, it made me think that you were like attracted to this other person. And I know that you're not, but that's what I felt in the moment. And the reason why is because that day I was like, just like I was mismatched. And I just
Hmm.
felt like extra unattractive that day. And it really just became on top of it. And then you really just like let it out, and that sounds and the reason for me, why I wouldn't want to say any of that stuff is because I wanted to show you that I'm confident. I want to show you that I'm this guy and I want to portray myself to be that way. And so when these little things happen, I'm not going to speak up about it because I want to be that. And then when I realize when I speak up about that, that's so much proof that I'm not that person that I'm trying to be for you.
Right.
And that makes me feel even more of this way.
Hmm.
Right? And so saying all that, you're just like, oh, yeah, that's like putting it out there. And that's just a little sample, but
Yeah.
really, so everything that you fear, you let them hear.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Super important. What's up, Claire? I see you in the chat. Thanks for stopping by and thanks for saying what's up. You guys, when you guys come through here, make sure you say hello. Um, and
Claire's a regular. Claire's
yeah,
a
yeah, I've
regular.
seen Claire.
Welcome on
Yeah.
back, Claire. Appreciate you so much.
Thanks for coming in. One of my another favorite daily practices, making sure you get touches in um, as much as possible, being able to um, like. So I'll just say for me, going up to my wife and like hugging her from behind when she's doing or in the middle of something, and she doesn't expect it. Those that's one of my favorite times or one of my favorite things to do. I think that those kinds of scenarios are good. Um, uh, they're good ways to fill your relationship up, and it doesn't take a whole lot. And so us just being able to find different ways, and everybody's will be different, but different ways to enter a constant physical touch into your relationship, whether it's grabbing hands, holding hands, a kiss, whatever those things are. Don't go a day where you don't touch your partner. Like I know, like I kind of smile whenever it happens, but I've worked with couples and know couples that becomes the case, and it's status quo, and they could live like that forever, and eventually your intimacy could drop out if you're not putting some kind of deposit like that in. And so it's a huge deal for us to be able to do something different and really kind of create a different practice. So how do we explain the difference between physical intimacy and emotional intimacy? Fit, I'll let you go first on that. We can kind of tease it out together though.
Okay, so here's a combination of both,
Hmm.
right? So here's physical and emotional all in one, right? So when you're giving a hug, right, you give that hug. All right, hey, all right, babe. whatever,
Mhm.
give that quick hug. But the
Mhm.
power move of it is when you stay there, when you go, all right, babe, I love you too, or whatever it is, and you hug, and then they think it's just a quick hug,
Right.
but it's not. And
They
you
got
keep
more
it there
coming.
for a little bit more,
Hmm.
and you just practice being in their presence.
Hmm.
No thought, no intent, no like just being in their presence, no wanting, just being in that very moment with them, and practice feeling them,
Yeah.
because that moment right there, and though it may be triggered, it doesn't have to be triggered by that physical interaction right then and there. But the physical aspect of it is the hugging, right? And we're physically coming in close proximity with the
Hmm.
physical hug, right? Physical kisses and all of that, right? But when we're becoming emotional, we're switching into our emotional body. And
Hmm.
so what we're doing really doesn't matter at that moment, as long as we are in our feeling and we are really communicating and expressing from our place of what we are feeling. Because what we try to do is we say, I think I feel that, or we say, yeah, this is how I feel, and this is what I think.
Yeah.
Okay, but tell me what you really feel, though, like you were saying earlier. But is that how you really feel? Tell me how you really feel. Again, when we
Hmm.
go and we really take that deep breath in, and we allow ourselves to get into our emotional body, that's when we can really speak to our partner,
Right.
and increase that emotional intimacy.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a game changer. Yeah, I think the difference
Yeah.
between physical and emotional intimacy is um, it's probably an easy concept to describe, but what I would ask you guys too is like what you're good at. And a lot of times, the I feel like the emotional is easy to drop out and get to the physical, and then you can't really have one without the other long term. So you have to get to a point where you're able to do both. If you're better at one, physical intimacy, meaning closeness in like bodies, um, then you want to try to use it to channel into to the other. One of the intimacies that I think is an important one that's we this is like a little curveball that I'll throw in. It's spiritual intimacy. How much time are you guys spending for couples who are able to do this on the scripture together and being able to pray together, like sitting at the table and having some time together. That's a beautiful tap in to be able to do that will help you have a strong foundation for being able to do emotional and physical intimacy. And if you're not doing those things, and if the other ones have fallen out, I would say that's a good place to start. And it's not only is it a good place, I don't think that it could be messed with as far as like the give back that it gives you. And so I would tap into that as much as possible, but we have to get to a point where we're doing both at the same time. Any follow ups for that fit?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely getting on that page again. With
Mhm.
that practice, it's getting spiritual. It's getting into our emotional body again, and getting to another plane, another mental state, another emotional state. That spiritual state.
Yeah.
Being connected when doing those practices together. And again, it goes back to what works best for you, or what you're good at. And for each couple, finding what works best for them, and finding what they're good at, and putting that into practice, and having that as a solid practice to reconnect and stay connected. You still
You
there?
cut out a little bit there, Fit. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh,
You cut out a
okay.
little bit, but I got you now. Hey, so one of the things I'll do to follow it up, and then we got a question in the chat too. But one of the things that I'll say to follow up, you guys, is they build on each other, and so emotional intimacy is something that really kind of builds that safe environment that we were just talking about. And then physical intimacy gives you an opportunity to be able to really express that, whereas spiritual intimacy strengthens those all three of those, puts all of those together and strengthens both of those. And so it's important that we do both, so you can create the environment and the interaction at the same time. And so we want to try to build on that as much as possible. So Margie has a question in the chat. It says, what are some of the reasons why a betrayed partner disconnects emotional, physically, and mentally? Do you want to answer that first, or you want me to go first? I have a good answer.
Yeah. Yes. Go
Me
first.
go
Go
first.
first.
You
Yes.
cut out right there. Okay, so I will go. So Margie, what I will say to you is, and this is how I summarize it. When when I have a love for you or when I care about you, um, I can't I can't hurt somebody I care about. Um, so I can't be hurtful to somebody I care about. So what's important is I have to decrease. If I'm the perpetrator, I have to decrease who you are or reduce who you are or what we have in order to pursue the perpetration. So a perpetrator can't hurt somebody unless they decrease them or devalue them. Understand that about all abusive scenarios. Even if you're abusing yourselves with alcohol or drugs or whatever, like you have to decrease how you see yourself in order to do the thing. Because the higher that you see or value those scenarios, the less likely you are to pursue the perpetration of abuse. So I do put, and not everybody will like this, but I do put betrayal in a category of abusive concepts. And so, in order for somebody who to do the cheating or the infidelity, they need to reduce all the other connection pieces and somehow make those things that you might have in your relationship invalid or less than or not see them in order to keep pursuing the things that they're doing, right? So that's on the front end while or before. And then afterwards, I think that a lot of times it's guilt ridden scenarios, and people will have to work on that, that will keep them from being able to get back in the scenario, right? So I can't get back into my partner if I'm the perpetrator because of the harm that I've done or whatever that scenario is. And so I feel like it somehow makes the relationship invalid when the partner disconnects for them in their mind, right? And meanwhile, it leaves the person who is being victimized in those scenarios feeling disconnected and like what's going on, what's wrong with me, what's wrong with our relationship, and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Fit, you have anything to follow up with?
Yeah, definitely. So think about it like this, Margie. It's like you may have made an unconscious or subconscious choice to disconnect as well, right? Without actually choosing that, it's an automatic thing, right? Because think about like when you are connected with somebody, it's like they have to choose to be connected with you too. And so right then and there, you're before you found out, you're like, all right, we're connected. I'm connected to you. You're connected to me. But then what they did was they disconnected from you, which left you, okay, well, you disconnected from me, and as you're already got, so what am I even connecting to?
Mhm.
There's nothing there connecting to because I had a connection with you and you let it go, and so I have nothing to hold on to. There is, it's gone. And so now I've made this, I've shifted, not saying that it's voluntarily, but your mind, your body, just everything has shifted because it's going, no, there is no more connect. You disconnected from me, so I cannot connect to you. So now you have to do an overwhelming job of rebuilding that connection with me. And I cannot reach out my hand to connect back with you because I am very uncertain in this moment that you even want this connection.
Mhm.
And so that disables me from having any kind of motivation, any kind of inspiration, will remove the feeling of love from me completely. And this is where it leaves you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that side of things, Fit, because I think what happens a lot of times is we have a built-in ability to protect ourselves, and as we see that things go on, I think we can sense it subconsciously. The other thing that I will say too, and this isn't a bad thing by any means, but I think that when we're hurt, automatically our bodies have that sense of that needs to be punished or somehow fixed. And so, what is the best way? And the reason why it does that is to protect ourselves. If we're the betrayed or we got betrayed, we're the victims in those scenarios where we've been victimized. Our body wants to protect us, and so it's like, that is not a safe individual to connect to. And so that disconnect that I was describing earlier creates disconnection. So we always know love gets love, hate gets hate, disconnect gets disconnect, right? And so how does it manifest? It manifests a lot of times in a way that says, hey, I'm going to mirror that just so I can be protected myself.
Yeah.
What a good question. That's such a good question. And I think it's useful too for so many. Can we hit a energy spike real quick, Fit? With some surface or vulnerability and kind of figure out like, hey, is this surface? So just so everybody kind of knows like what it is it surface or is it vulnerability? That way we could be clear when you're asking questions like this or interacting this way, you're making a choice that's conscious now. Is it surface or is it vulnerability? All right, first one. Work was fine today.
Yeah. Surface, very surface.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
They say that fine stands for freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. When you say fine, I'm fine. But fine is a fine line.
Yeah.
Define what fine is.
Define what there's no definition there, right? In contrast with this one, so here's the second one. I felt unseen today and I didn't know how to really say it.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt unseen today and I really didn't know how to say it. Yeah. Of course.
I think the more that we ask the question on top of the statement is it becomes important. And we're not blaming, like last week we talked about blaming, right? But just being able to ask the question on top of the question.
Help your partner process what they're thinking. Help them process what they're going through. You help your partner heal by helping them process.
Yeah.
Ask them questions, and this is how you're going to be the most helpful. Is when you ask your partner questions that they wouldn't have asked themselves. When they go, you know what? I never thought of that. That's a good question, right? And then suddenly, and you're just there, not there to judge, criticize. You have your own agenda. You're just there, hey. Again, allowing them to be vulnerable, encouraging them to be more vulnerable, inspiring them to be vulnerable, helping them to be vulnerable, helping them to be good at being vulnerable. Right. I mean, it's all good.
Yeah. It's a different kind of scene whenever we're able to interact with that in a different way, right? What about this one? I'm tired.
It's a mix.
You think it's a mix?
It is. I mean, it's surface level, definitely.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, I'm tired. You know, okay, so how are you feeling though? Well, I'm tired. Okay, so what kind of tired? Is it like a physical kind of tired? Is it emotional tired? Is it mental kind of tired? What's going on? Talk to me. See, that's what we're
that gives a different kind of response. Hold on just a second, Fit.
Sure.
So Fit, I shared this with you, but I didn't share this with our audience. Like, I'm at a hotel right now. We're in the beautiful Napa, and so that was our house cleaning person, I think, that came in. She wanted to clean. So anyways,
and so that Mr. Castro here, he's a coach and he's traveling. He's not at a hotel up to any kind of, you know what I mean? He's out here and he's coaching and he's on the road here. All right, so let's just clear that up. All right. Let's put it but all right, I wanted to get back to the comments. Margie was, showing appreciation and gratitude for it. And I just want to let you know, Margie, I appreciate you for being vulnerable by asking those questions here in front of our audience. And I invite more of you to ask your questions, please. We love and welcome your questions very much so. And we are not here to judge or criticize. We are here to champion you to your victory and see you at your absolute best. Okay.
Yeah, Marie kind of echoes what you're saying, because she's like, thank you. That's so helpful for me to understand what's happening in my life at the moment. I mean, and that's true, that the more we have these discussions out loud and together and we're asking questions, something is helpful to everybody, to a point where sometimes you don't even have to ask a question because it's getting answered already or getting asked already. So I love that what we're doing here as far as being able to help each other out, you guys. I love it. All right, so I got one more. Oh, no, let's do the I'm tired. Let me finish that one up real quick. So I'm tired is, it depends on really the tone and all that. But in general, like, I'm tired doesn't say enough. It just doesn't say enough. It doesn't really
Yeah.
describe like, man, I'm maxed out because of all the thinking that I've done today, or I'm maxed out because of all the tasks that I had to do today. That just gives a little bit more. The more information you can give, the more vulnerable you'll be being in your relationship, and it's hugely helpful for everybody to get a little bit more closer. Okay. All right, let's give them a weekly reset, Fit. So here's the thing that I think would be helpful for you guys to have, um, just to take in and try to do every day this next week. So every week, you guys, we're giving you guys something that you can actually take to your relationship, and it could be helpful. It's practical. So I would say, one is to be honest emotionally. Uh, in a day, can you just share what's going on? Right. And again, if we get away from the simple, like, I'm tired, right? And instead say like, hey, I've used a lot of thinking power today, or somehow like I've communicated with a lot of people today. And so just kind of exhausted from having so much conversation, right? Not that somebody needs to take care of it, but that's where I'm at, right? Just being vulnerable like that as much as possible. Fit, I'm going to come to you with one suggestion, but I'll give one more first. So, and then I think an affirmation is huge. So an affirmation is kind of like a double whammy because you get a chance to really say what you are acknowledging about your partner, and see how well they do. But then also, um, you get a chance to be able to be vulnerable with them about, hey, this is my conversation towards you, and it gives us a chance to emotionally wrap our arms around each other. Okay. What about you, Fit? Any other rituals that they can do?
I mean, like instead of like ritual, think of it as like practice, like
Mm.
a practice that you continually get better at. And it just starts with trying, going on the topic of vulnerability. I remember a big reason why I began to develop relationship skills was because I would get insulted. I remember specifically, I was told, like, you just don't know how to communicate. Like, that's just, and I would say, well, I can learn, and then I was specifically told, now that's just who you are, like giving me my identity. And that really hurt. And so
Mm.
that made me want to start learning about communication. And so I started learning and I started practicing, and I wasn't very good at it. Maybe I'm not all the best now. However, it does take yourself, does take require you uh, pushing past, maybe if you want to call it that moment where you don't want to, where that moment where it's uncomfortable, where there's the normal pattern of what it was before. And so
Mm.
I'll wrap this up by saying, no matter what it is, ritual or you practice, whatever it is that you do it and do it again and again and again. And don't let yourself defeat yourself by going, well, hey, I tried that. Well, see, it doesn't work. Because the moment we start to go, it is what it is, then we reach that acceptance where we go, okay, I want to be here, but I'm just going to accept that it's here, and there's nothing beyond that. When it's not, it is what it is. It is what you make it.
Right. I love that. It is what you make it. Um, and so, you guys, every month we're going to be meeting up. And this month we chose the day after Christmas, um, at 4 p.m. to meet up live. And so, you guys got a couple of weeks to sign up for that, and to get in there. And we discuss our topics. But then I think in our last couple of meetups, what has happened is whatever topics are close to your heart and right where you need to be, we go into that and we kind of tease out whatever we need to get to a point to give you some practical ways to be able to move forward inside of your life and your relationship. And so I want to invite you guys all in, and kind of know that you can join us. Links will be inside of our social media, and we'll make sure we get that to you guys. Before we leave, we want to make sure we give you guys a word of the week, and that word of the week is closeness. I think the more that you can think on those terms, you're going to be in a better spot. A lot of times we think, what's going on for me and how do I solve my things, right? But instead, switch
Mhm.
in your mind and have the thought that says, how do I become a little bit more close in my relationship? That's my destination. Can I get a little bit more close to my partner, right? Fit, I have one more thing before we wrap it up, but I want to come to you with your last thing. Any last comments or thoughts about being vulnerable and switching those habits to connection?
I don't have any thoughts about that. What I'm thinking about is closeness. because I don't use that word too much.
Mhm.
Closeness, right?
Mhm.
And so now I'm thinking, okay, how can I? Because that's what for me, I'm a coach, but I'm a husband, dad, first, or
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so I automatically, okay, how can I apply that to my relationship? Mr. Thomas, right there. So closeness. So that's a good one. So I'm already thinking of ideas of how can I be even closer in my
Right.
relationship. So I really love that because being intimate may not be the same thing as being close,
Mhm.
because so like, for example, like, so close could mean, okay, so we're closer. Does that mean we're like letting each other know of more of the things that are going on throughout the day, and we're like, yeah, yeah, okay, and then checking in with this, and then what happened later, and we're more consistent with what's really happening? Is that what it means to be closer?
Mhm.
Right? And so it's really interesting to first define what your definition of close is, and
Mhm.
let alone how to be closer. So I
Yeah.
love that. I'm really excited by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we must grow these things in our relationships, and I think Fit, you're a good example of being able to describe like where I'm not isn't maybe the thing to be excited about, but where I'm not gives me where I'm going, right? And so
Mhm.
that is exciting. And the more
Yeah.
we can think about things like, hey, you know what is closeness? How do I define that? What does it look like for me in my relationship? Those are the things that actually grow us. So ultimately, you guys, this month we've been talking about intimacy and how to get to that. And it's been a trail for us. Um, and this is probably the starting point um, for being able to be intimate in your relationship. When you talk about struggling sexually in your relationship, when you talk about struggling to have physical touch in your relationship, these actually are the starting points, right? If you're going to move to a different spot in your relationship, you start with these things right here that we just talked about. So don't get it twisted. And that's why I wanted to make sure we close with this is like, we're giving you some things to do that may seem like, oh, okay, this is how I'm a little bit more vulnerable. Well, vulnerability breeds connection, and vulnerability breeds connection. Connection is the place that actually gives us the ability to create intimacy in our relationship. Without those things, it gets more challenging to do intimacy. So we have to keep putting our hand out there, so to speak, and being the first one to go on creating the scenario that means closeness and connection. That is our challenge for the week. And the more that we can move on those concepts, you're going to get to the places that you need to in your relationship. But if you try to skip over and you say like, look, and couples will come to me like, hey, we're not having sex, or we're not doing the things that we need to do to build connection. We try to skip over the process, right? We just try to go straight to that and feel like something's wrong. Then we're going to be in a bad spot. But if we go back, rewind it back and say, okay, look, Thomas and Fitz said, we need to do these things as far as vulnerability. And you go through these steps, you'll see that these put a charge in your relationship and allow you to be able to do the things that you want to do. Okay. It won't be other things that create the closeness that you want. Okay.
I have
Man,
a
we got,
Tom.
yeah, go for it.
If I could, I really wanted to answer Cleo's question right here.
Okay.
I'm not sure when they answered it, but I want to make sure that we show it the necessary attention that it deserves. It says, if he returns to the affair partner, but he says he will forever stay with you, but he continued to cheat, what does it mean? How can he cheat and still want to stay in the relationship? You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. So
Okay.
here's the thing is, and these questions are always interesting to me. Um, First of all, I want you guys to really care about yourselves. And instead of like feeling the moment, um, and thinking like from like what's going on, think about who you are and what it is that you really want to create in your life. So if somebody's not absolutely choosing you, it's a totally different kind of conversation. I think it's harder to figure out when somebody is not aiming for higher. There aren't good answers. So like, um, in this relationship question, like somebody's not aiming for higher. So trying to figure out how to respond to somebody who's not aiming for higher makes a really difficult situation. And it's a really a crazy maker, because how do I deal with somebody who wants to cheat but doesn't that wants to stay, and what do I do with that, right? Like That's a crazy maker. Whereas I think I would flip that question and say, what do I need to do to move to a higher space in my life and in my relationships? I can't watch what somebody else is doing um, and try to like acquiesce to the buffoonery, right? I can't watch what somebody else is doing who's not really chasing a marriage. I can't even have that conversation. You see, so entertaining that kind of interaction in your relationship and in your heart makes it challenging because there's only two things that happen for us as people in relationships: either you're contributing or you're contaminating. And either I jump on with that so that either I'm contributing or I'm contaminating, right? And so I and this is Claire. Obviously, is it Claire that asked that question?
No, this is Cleo, or I believe
Cleo.
it's,
So
yeah,
for
Cleo.
Cleo asking that question, obviously me and you don't have too much experience together. You might not know me, but I'm saying all this in a loving way, and it's not critical to anybody, but it is a way of thinking differently. We're thinking from the hardship instead of thinking from where we actually want to be. And you guys, that's the recipe for us not ending up where we want to be, because we're going to keep trying to make decisions around somebody who's not pursuing life the right rate, right? As adults, like we have to have a bigger vision for where we're headed. And if we're not aiming for having an amazing marriage, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now, I'm not saying that we need to be perfect in that. I just think that we need to be aiming for having amazing relationships, not how to acquiesce to things that mean like somebody wants to do too. And I don't agree with that. Right. And so I feel like that for me, the question has to shift. And I would love for you to care about you and what you're trying to create in your relationship life at a higher level. I would want both people to pursue themselves at a higher level than to respond and interchange with questions that mean like, hey, I'm going to be with you forever, but I might go back here. Right. That's not a relationship driven question. That's not a relationship or a caring interaction. That person's not ready in the moment. Okay. So, I know I don't absolutely answer the question. I just want a mind shift in that scenario. Okay.
Yeah. And perspective is a very big part of it. And first, how you're looking at it and how we're looking at ourselves and evaluating ourselves. But, this person continues to cheat, but they want to stay in the relationship, regardless if they are trying to change or what they are doing to change. They are operating from a selfish frame. So, how can they cheat and want to stay in the relationship? That's obviously because I want all of the benefits of you in the relationship, but I also still want it this way. And so it's not that I want to cheat and have a relationship with you. I want a cheatingship with you, right? I want a relationship where there's it's an open relationship, or there's, this is what I want. That's what they're telling you. This is what I want. Oh, I mean, I don't know the situation, because I have a million questions that I want to ask. Bring it to a session, but when it's repeating, I mean, is this person even feeling remorseful for what they've done? Are they showing regret? And then beyond that, what are they doing? So maybe they go get drunk and they cheat. Okay, then what do they do after that? Is it like, yeah, well, sorry, I'll never do it again, and then you're out there drinking again? It can't just be so like, well, hey, you're continuing to do it. Well, what are you doing about it? What is the change? Yes, there is the change that we are making here. Forgive me if I get fired up about it, but this is what I'm passionate about here. But it is in that committing to that change and what we are actually doing. And it may require stepping back and going, okay, if I'm in this situation, then how may I be contributing to it? Because someone cannot continue to cheat on you if they are with you. And I'm not saying that you leave this person or whatever. You do what is best for you always. But this may require you stepping back at this moment and saying, I require you to do what is necessary before I decide. And at that point, when I get to that level, you were talking earlier, Thomas, we get to better levels. Let's get to better levels in our own personal ships. And then at that point, then that's when we can really, really, truly build that relationship that we really, truly desire when we become those people, and then we join up at that point. Because if not, if we're on different levels, one of you's here and the other's here, okay, this means this person is pulling this person up while this person is pulling this person down.
Right.
And so it has to be the both of you at your absolute best, raising each other up.
Right. Yeah, I think that's such an important thing for us to be able to understand that, man, me letting go, um, you know, me letting go of what's going on is not the bad thing, and so often I think that we kind of think like, oh, that's what's the issue, is that I'm letting go of something, or I'm letting down this person, and it's so unfair that happens. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so I would definitely look at being able to do that differently. We have another question that maybe you could start answering, Fit, which is, at times I'm afraid of closeness. I'm 4 months in after finding out about my husband's affair. What would you say to that person?
What is being close give you? What are the consequences of being close?
Hmm.
That's what I want to know. What are the consequences of me being close? Can you answer that really quickly, Marie? Marie, if you could, because that's going to lead you to a lot.
Hmm.
So if I'm close, so answer it, finish the sentence. If I'm close, if I allow myself to be close, then this might happen. Then what might happen? And so what I teach a lot to my betrayed spouses is that if we want to learn to feel safe, we must practice feeling safe. And how we do that is we practice feeling unsafe. Practice feeling unsafe to feel safe, because that is the grand picture. That is the bigger picture of where we want to get to. And it is going to take us practicing getting in those moments of feeling unsafe
Fear I can't explain.
to feel safe, right? The fear that I
It
can't,
makes sense. Marie,
it's
that
a
makes a lot of
fear.
sense. Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. And so then at the moment, okay, you can explain it at the moment. So then outside of the moment, go within, ground yourself, right? Get to a good grounded emotional state and really search for that answer and pick that apart, because your psychology may be preventing you from doing this and convincing yourself. Because if you have this reoccurring thought pattern that says, when I open myself up, bad things happen, or whatever that may be. And so then you must retrain your brain, redirect your brain and your body to know what the truth is, what your truth is, not the lies that life and trauma has taught you.
Yeah, and I'll double back on that trauma scenario, Fit. So, Marie, what you have to understand is, anytime there's infidelity, that's a trauma scenario, and so your body, and this is probably why you don't or can't explain, at the moment, your body is possibly in a shock mode, where it's hesitant, and so imagine that somebody hears gunshots, and then they get traumatized, and then next situation somebody claps and they get underneath the desk, just because of that loud response, and the body does that automatically. They couldn't explain, like, why did I get under the desk? But from the story, we kind of know, like, it makes sense that we would be hesitant to approach that scenario, because you've been in a hurtful situation. So 4 months is very soon, and so be patient with yourself as you're trying to get to the closeness, and allow some of the processing that Fit talked about, allow some of that processing to take place, but don't be in a hurry. And the more that you're not in a hurry, and you're willing to go within and do the looks, to see you, that's the most important thing. So how we resolve that person who goes on the desk is, we'd go sit next to them, and we would say, like, hey, I'm here for you, you don't have to have an explanation, right? And that softens up the ability, for them to put their forearms down, so they can start seeing more. And so I would say to do the same thing with yourself. Even though you have this fear of closeness, you don't need to be able to explain it yet. The explanation is coming with your softness and understanding, if you're not in a hurry. So don't be in a hurry to get from underneath the desk, so to speak, Instead, be in a hurry to be able to wrap your arms around yourself and be patient with what's going on, and fret less with the outside things. So like somebody else might come in and try to say, well, you need to be in a certain place, or you have to do these kinds of scenarios, or your partner might even respond to you in a way, well, get over it already, it's done, it's already happened. Like, what I would say to you is allow yourself to build your strength, get back to the gym, so to speak, and start doing all of that emotional processing that you need to. Okay, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, those scenarios are traumatic. All right, you guys, it was good being able to spend some time with you. I love it. I love the questions. I love the participation. And hopefully you guys are able to use a lot of these tools that we're giving you guys. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye for now.
Hey guys.